Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started so that we're all rotating around at the same time. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Dina Dossett. I'm the Chief of Research here at JCPS, and it is my honor to talk with you tonight about our school choice proposal, and in particular, the area of dual resides and feeder patterns. So, I wanted to begin by talking about our guiding principles. Dr. Polio mentioned them in the overview, but these are the 5 areas that we consider that we hold true to our heart, and these are our North Star. So when thinking about how to develop a plan that positively impacts student outcomes, we have these 5 guiding principles that we keep at the center of our work. And those are equity, diversity, choice, ease of understanding, and access. So our proposal is really focused in on improving 3 big areas: consistency, choice, and continuity. So what we mean by that, when we talk about consistency, we want all of our students to have choice. And by that, what we mean is not every one of our students has an opportunity to choose the school that they go to that is a close to home option. When we talk about continuity, we're talking about our feeder patterns, and we're talking about predictability. So if I'm a family, I know where my students are going at all stages of their educational career, at elementary, at middle, and at high. And that there's opportunities for them to stay with their peers throughout that process. And again, when we talk about choice, what we're talking about is students that live in our choice zone will have an additional choice available to them so that they can stay close to home or go far away. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that choice zone looks like in the next few slides. So what we're going to be talking about in this session is really focused in on dual resides and boundaries. To my right is the session on magnet schools and magnet proposals, and then in the back area in the gym, there's a session on the support plan for our choice zone schools. So you'll be able to move around and get information on all 3 of these areas. So tonight, though, this session we'll be talking about dual resides and boundaries and feeder patterns. So this proposal is designed to benefit our students in a number of ways. It's going to allow students 2 choices and 2 opportunities to attend schools in the choice zone. It's an opportunity for peers to stay with each other throughout their educational career. We expect that this will also increase our opportunities for family engagement, for participation in after-school activities. We think that we'll see improved attendance and sense of belonging. So if I'm assigned to a school farther away and I miss the bus, it's sometimes difficult to get to that school. So we expect to see improved attendance, opportunities, as we mentioned, for family engagement, and we're also working in several strategies to make sure that our families, that we have a targeted outreach program so that our families understand the choices available to them and that they're able to engage in that choice and make informed decisions. So what you see on the screen now is our choice zone area. We have 13 schools in our choice zone area. Shawnee is the high school, our new West Louisville Middle School, which we will be building, and then there's 11 elementary schools that sit within those choice zones. We also have far away options that are established for each of those areas too, and we'll go through exactly what that looks like. But you'll see a green area, a blue area, and a red area. Those correspond with our high school networks. And so if you look, for example, at the top corner, you'll see an area that says Ballard and Cameron. That's the boundary for Ballard High School and for Cameron High School in the choice zone. So students that live in that area would be able to attend a school far away, Ballard and Cameron, or they can attend a school close to home, which would be the Academy at Shawnee or our West Louisville Middle School. This shows you some geographic markers, just to give you an idea of what that that area looks like. If you're familiar with our current student assignment plan, we call those areas, we currently refer to them as satellite areas, but it's a little bit more than West Louisville. It extends a little bit south and a little bit east past Smoketown. So you can see Cave Hill Cemetery is the boundary to the east, then Eastern Parkway south, and Algonquin Parkway on the west. And so what you see now is our dual resides, and so I'm just going to walk you through what an example looks like. And so again, the area outlined in black is our choice zone area, and then the area outlined in purple is the resides area for Ballard High School. So this is an example for Ballard, and what this means is that area in the choice zone that says Ballard High School Choice Zone. If I live there, I can choose to go far away to Ballard, or I can choose to stay close to home and go to Shawnee. But there'll be choices at elementary, middle, and high for our students. They can either stay close to home, or they can go far away. And for the students that live outside of the choice zone, in that Ballard resides zone, they will also continue to have an opportunity to stay close to home and engage in the magnet programs, transfers, and networks. So let's walk through what that looks like for a couple of different students. So if we look at this student and that star right there, a student that lives near Shawnee, what do their choices look like? And so they can again stay close to home and go to elementary schools nearby. So they could go to Portland, Atkinson, Breck Frank, or Bick, or they can choose to go farther away to the Ballard Resides cluster, where they could attend Norton, Norton Commons, Chancey, Wilder, Zachary Taylor, or Dunn. So those are their choices far away. At the middle school level, that student would be able to stay close to home and go to the new West Louisville Middle School, or they can go farther away to Cameron. And at the high school level, they can choose to go to the Academy at Shawnee, or they can choose to go to a farther away option of Ballard. Students within that choice zone can choose to change throughout their educational career. So they could stay close to home for elementary and middle, but then they could move farther away for high school. That would be the individual family's choice of how they want that to work. And they can change yearly, depending on what their circumstances are and what works best for their family. Here's another example of student that lives in the eastern Louisville, near Prospect. And so their close to home choices are, again, they would be Dunn, Wilder, Chancey, Norton, Norton Commons, Zachary Taylor, or they could choose to go to West Louisville and they could attend Portland. At the middle school level, their close to home option would be Cameron, and at the high school level, their close to home option would be Ballard. But again, they could also still apply for a magnet or a transfer or another high school network program. So when we talk about feeder patterns, Dr. Polio mentioned that we have 90 feeder patterns currently. And what this visual looks like, and we're going to go through a lot of different ways to look at this information, what this visual shows you is each column is a high school and their feeder pattern. So that first column is J-Town High School. It has 8 different middle schools that feed into that one high school and over 15 elementary schools that feed into that one high school. Another way to look at it is if we look across the county and we have a map of the county, what you see here is our elementary clusters. We currently have 13 clusters at the elementary level. If you look at what our middle schools look like over top of that, they are represented in the yellow lines, and then our purple lines represent our high school, so boundaries. So when Dr. Polio said we really have 3 plans, we have an elementary plan, a middle school plan, a high school plan. That's what he means by this, is there's not alignment between our elementary, middle, and high school. And And what we're moving to is an alignment between our elementary, middle, and high school so that we have less feeder patterns. So in this new proposal,
I just have a quick question about these percentages that are on here. What do those mean?
that's the percentage of students that feed into that high school. So 100% of Camera kids go to Ballard. 33% of Westport students would go to Ballard. So when we look at the proposal, what we see here is 100% alignment with our elementary and our high schools. So what this shows is our new elementary school clusters. The middle schools are in yellow, and then our high schools are in purple. So again, you see 100% alignment between our elementary and our high school. And most of our middle schools, or most of our high schools, just have 1 to 2 middle schools that feed into it. So we move from 90 feeder patterns down to 27 feeder patterns. This is another way to look at it, and I know it's difficult to see on the screen, but what this shows us is that we have 90 feeder patterns now. If you look at J-Town High School, as I mentioned before, they have 8 different middle schools that feed into that one high school. So if I'm a 9th grade counselor and I'm having to schedule my classes for my kids and I have to work on programming, I have to interact with 8 different middle schools to serve those 9th grade incoming class. Same thing at the middle school level. If you look at Carithers, they send students in their 8th grade class to 8 different high schools. So when we talk about sense of belonging, and I'm in 8th grade and I've got a best friend, the chances of me continuing on to the same high school is really little under the current plan. But what we're moving to is that alignment. So we have now, many of our middle schools will 100% feed into their high schools. And here's another way to look at this. This is represented by our networks. So we have Network 2, which is Fern Creek, J-Town, Moore, Seneca, and Southern. And what that shows is each column represents the high school. You see 2 to 3 middle schools that feed into that high school, and then the elementaries are represented in red. So again, if I live near here and I live near Wheatley, I can choose an elementary school close to home. So I could choose to go to Wheatley, to Cochran, to McFerrin, or I can choose to go farther out to Farmer, J-Town, Tully. It's the parent's choice now. So I just want to flip through 1 or 2 more examples. This is Network 1, and again, what you see here is high schools have 1 to 2 middle schools that feed into it, and then they have a group of elementary that 100% feed into that high school. So no longer will you see a high school with 8 different middle schools that feed into it, or with 15 different elementaries that feed into it. It's a much tighter alignment so that students are going with their peers from elementary to middle to high. We've got consistency, continuity, and choice. If you have additional questions, I'm happy to take those questions now. We also have lots of people in the lobby that can answer questions as well. Yes, you had one? Your hand up?
These changes are going to affect in 24?
Yes, thank you very much. That's a great question. So these, if the board approves this proposal, they would go into effect for the 23-24 school year, and it would impact our kindergartners, 6th grade, and 9th grade. So anybody that is currently attending a school can stay at their school. They will not be asked to move. They can remain if they're currently in a school. This would just be for incoming kindergartners, incoming 6th, and incoming 9th in the 23-24 school year. So how do pre-established feeder patterns produce choice? What if I want my child to attend a school outside of my feeder pattern? that is a possibility, and you can do that through a transfer. You can also do that through applying to a magnet program. Those are both options to attend a school outside of your feeder pattern. And what is the district's position on open boundaries, where students can attend any school? So one of the advantages of having a strong feeder pattern is, again, to have that, to improve the sense of belonging by having peers stay with other peers throughout their elementary, middle, and high school career. If you had an open enrollment across all the district, that also produces a challenge for our transportation system as well, and busing. Yes.
Have y'all done any scenario planning to say what impact racially this plan will have on various schools?
Yes, so the question is, have we done any scenarios to see what impact this will have racially on our schools? And that is part of the 300-page plan that will come out at the end of this week. But we know, for example, that schools within that choice zone could become more racially identifiable. That is a potential scenario. Yes. Any other questions? Well, then you're more than welcome to stay here and ask additional questions and listen to this again, or attend the magnet schools over to the hallway, or the choice support plan, which is in the gym.